So hi everyone, nice to see you all here today. Thank you again for joining. I am Laura Candelier and today I will be showing you a few tips and tricks on how to make the most of your data. I am an industrial engineer with a master's degree in supply chain management and with 7 years of experience analyzing, collecting, and visualizing data across a wide variety of continuous improvement projects. So I am very excited that I have this opportunity to share a bit of my knowledge today. So let's get started. I will be sharing my screen now. 2 seconds. Please bear with me. So here we can see the workshop content, and we will be covering 9 topics from table formatting, AutoFills-Flash fields, slicers, date format, and then going down to data validation in the indirect function. So before we start with these topics, let's take a quick few seconds to kind of familiarize ourselves with the Excel ribbon structure. So at the top, we can see the tabs. Then within each tab, we can find groups. And then within each group, we can find different command buttons that we will be using through, well, some of them throughout this workshop. And as we go through the exercises, I will be specifying which tab, group, and command button we will be using. In the same way, if by any chance you feel that I'm speaking too fast, please don't hesitate to leave a comment in the chat box. And so, yeah, let's start. So, starting with table formatting, this is the raw data that Eugenio has cleaned for us in the first part of the workshop. And we are going to do a quick table formatting. So there are 3 ways we can do that. The first one is within the Home tab. We can click Format as Table. And then we can choose any style that we prefer. And then we click OK. The other way, if you press Ctrl-Z to go back to the raw data, we can go Insert, then Table, and we click OK. And then the third option, after this, you can stick to the one you feel more comfortable with. We'll be using the shortcut keyboard Ctrl-P. In the 3 options, we have the same dialog box has come up, and we have to make sure that this box, which specifies to Excel that our table has headers, has been checked, and we click OK. So here we can easily customize the styles. I will stick with this one for now. And there are many benefits of why should we convert our raw data into an Excel table, apart from the fact that we can get easy to use styles. The first one is that as we scroll down through the data, the headers will remain on the top. This is very useful when we are handling lots amount of data, and we will still know which column we are working on. The second one will be being able to have powerful filters, and also Excel will automatically create name ranges for each of the columns. So we will review filters and name ranges very soon in the workshop. So now let's move on to autofill and flash fill. So the autofill feature is able to copy a pattern. You saw a few examples with Eugenio already, but just to give you a quick reminder, let's say that we want to follow a sequence of 1, 2, and 3. And then we choose those cells and we drag down. And we can see how Excel has automatically assumed the number sequence we want to choose. We can do the same with the months, so January, February, and then we choose them both and we drag them down. And let's say we now want a different number sequence, 1, 2, 1, 3, and 5. So yeah, very basic. But then flash fill, which is the one we are about to see, is a smarter tool. So it can foresee which adjustments within a pattern the user, let's say ourselves, is attempting to make within a spreadsheet. So let's say now our boss wants us to merge first name and last name again. So we will start writing here, John Brown. And two things might happen. The first thing is that Excel might show you a preview here of how the remaining cells will look like. So in this case, it didn't happen, but we can use the shortcut, which is Control-E, and we can see how the remaining Excel has filled the remaining part of the column. Something that I forgot to mention at the beginning is that the document name for this part of the workshop is number 2. So now coming back to Flash fields, now we are going to do a bit of an advanced combination using the email address. So let's say our company has a standard email address format, which is the first initial dot the last name at outlook.com. So we will write it down for the first cell. We press OK, and then again we follow the Control-E. And as we can see, Excel has accurately filled the rest of the email address for us. So let me see. So someone has messaged me saying that he's absolutely lost. Can you please specify which part you didn't understand so I can repeat it for you? Eduardo, I think, yeah.
No, sorry, keep going. I'm absolutely lost end to end, so I don't know where you are. I didn't see the tabs. I couldn't follow you. So don't worry, keep going and I'll catch up whatever I can. No worries.
Well, have you downloaded the document? I forgot to say that in the beginning. So if for any chance you couldn't follow what I've been doing so far, in the intro tab, can you see the intro tab? Yeah. So here I have a step-by-step guide on how to go through all the exercises I'm explaining right now.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, so.
Yeah.
That's great. So we will continue now with slicers. As I specified before, the data or the Excel table gives us powerful filters in the top. So we can easily sort by department, let's say. But if we want to make it even more dynamic, we can do it through adding a slicer. So how do we do it? We can go to Insert, the Insert tab, then the Filters group, and we choose Slicer, and we choose Department. So here we can see how Excel has generated a dynamic filter for us, so we can place anywhere we want, and we can customize whatever, any way we want it. So here we go through all the departments: finance, human resources, operations, and quality. In case we want to add a second option, we press Control and we choose the second option, let's say operations, or even a third option for HR. So here we can see all the employees that belong to all these departments that we've chosen. If we want to clear the slicer, we just click on this upper right button and our filter or slicer is automatically cleared. If we want to add another slicer, we can make sure that we have clicked within the table range, go to Insert again, and then click a slicer. And now let's say we want to filter by citizenship. So now we have our second slicer. We have them, put them both underneath, one underneath each other. And then we go through all the countries And if you see that there is a lighter blue showing for the rest of the department, means that we don't have anybody working on the other departments from that specific country. So then we clear filter, and that's it for now. So something worth to notice is that let's leave it there for now. So now let's move on to date format.
Quick question. Liliana is asking, is the slicer only work in a table format?
It is mostly used in pivot tables as well. But yeah, you have to convert the data to a table or to a pivot table to be able to use the slicers, because that's the only way you tell Excel within this data range, I have a set of columns that means something, and that's how it can create the filters to it. So let's say if we go back to the raw data, and then we remove the seconds. Okay. So if we go through table range, yeah, because right now, because I'm sharing the screen, there is a black square at the top of my table, so I'm not able to use the other tabs. Is there any way we can delete that or not?
You need to wait to disappear. Yeah.
Since I started sharing my screen, it doesn't disappear?
Yes, yes. Yeah, you can stop sharing and then it will be easier. Yeah.
And then come back to share my screen. Yeah, something's happening. Wow. So we'll find a way through. Let's see if when I minimize this, can you just see the back? Can you see my background?
No, we're seeing your Excel. Yeah.
So I'll try to do it. Right now I'm able to do it. So if we convert this raw data that we already have set up within a table to arrange again, we click on here. So it's no longer a table because it doesn't have a filter. So when we scroll down, it's like a plain data. It just kept the format, but it's no longer an Excel data. And if we try to insert slicers, it will give us an error because it doesn't identify anything as a table within this worksheet. So the same will happen if you have your raw data and you don't convert it to an Excel table, you won't be able to use the slicer. Yeah, is that clear?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you show how you convert it to a Excel table again, please?
Yeah, of course. So the easy way or the more straightforward way is to, within the Home tab, Styles, Format as Table. We choose any format that we want. And then this dialog box will come up. And we have to make sure that this checkbox or this box is checked for us to tell Excel that our table has headers. So now we have our table again. We can change the format table styles here accordingly. I'm not going to change more. Okay. Well, so is that all clear for now? Yeah. Okay. So we will move on to, we will clear our slides here. And now if we want to delete them, if we no longer need them, we will just delete here. So now let's move on to date format. So we have the hiring date here. And to make it easier for us to work with the dates, I'm going to hide a few columns that we are not needing for now. So we can access some quick date and time formats when we go to the Home tab, Number Group, and then we can see two options here to have either a short date or a long date. But if we want to see more formats, we can go to date, and here we have more options. If we want even more options, we can go to custom, and we have more options, even working with date and time altogether. It is worth to highlight that when we are using or selecting the formats for date and time, the formats with the little asterisk in the front are the ones that are aligned with our PC and regional settings. And this is very important for us to notice, because when we are working within a project or with the team that are based in different, let's say different time zones or different countries, let's say the US versus the UK, the name, the day and month is interchanged. So if I send someone to the UK with set it up with my date time, it will cause trouble when they download and when they open the document.
Laura, can you go a little bit slower, please?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I can repeat this again. Date and time, short and long here. And number format for date and time here. You can select any one you want. Or for the custom, we have more options here. So now we are going to cover some useful date functions, which allow us to kind of manipulate or extract relevant data from our date. Let's say we just need the day, month, year, weekday, or week number. And this part is very useful, especially when we are dealing with, or we are about to do pivot tables or dynamic reports. So this pivot table part we will be covering on our next workshop. So that's why it's important for you to keep coming to the workshops as well. So now we're going to extract the day. So I have left on this right-hand side of the spreadsheet the useful functions that we will be using right now. So for us to extract the day, we will put equal and day and choose the hiring date. And here we have the day extracted from our full day. Same goes with the month. Same for the year. And same for weekday. And week number. Okay, so is there any questions? Okay. So now we're moving to a second example for or when dealing with date formatting. So at the beginning, when Eugenio gave us our data, he gave us the data that had the date in a format that was compatible with Excel. But normally when we extract data from ERP systems, let's say SAP or Microsoft Dynamics, we receive instead an 8-digit number like this, where we have the first 4 characters as year, in this case, then followed by the month, then followed by the day. But when we put that into our Excel table, Excel doesn't recognize that as a date. How can we prove that? Well, when we go to the Home tab, then we drag down this list and we try to change it to a short date or a long date. It just gives us a full line of hash. So we have to convert that date into something like this. And for us to do that, we have to use the date function combined with right, left, and mid functions. So here I have left for you a small table, well, for us to kind of serve us as a guide on how we will use the right, mid, and left function accordingly to extract the day, month, and year. So in this case, our data is aligned with the second row, which is year, month, and day. So we will use right function to extract the day, then the mid function for the month, and then the left function for the year. So let's do that together. So we will do right, double click, and then as it sees this 8-digit number as a text, we click on it, and then we have to specify the number of characters we want Excel to extract. In this case, we want 2 characters for the day. So we can see here. Then for the month, we will use the mid function. And the mid function works slightly different comparing to left and right. So we will choose the mid function. Well, sorry, we will choose the cell. Then we have to specify from left to right from which character we want Excel to start counting. So in this case, we can see that the first 4 characters belong to the year. So starting from the 5th and the 6th, it will belong to the month. So we will say from the 5th character, start counting 2 characters, 5th and 6th. So now we have the month, and then the year will be the left function, choosing 4 characters. Cell and 4 characters. Okay. So now for us to get the final date value that will look at exactly like this one, we will use the date function. The date, and then here it specifies the order that we should add it. So we will choose first the year, followed by the month, and then followed by the day. Yeah. And then weekday and week number, we will use the same formulas that we have used in the previous example, referring to our new date value. Okay. So we are done. Now we will be moving to date and conditional formatting. So, and the way we're going to do it is using the today function that we still haven't covered. So let's say our company has a loyalty bonus scheme, and they are going to give it to those employees that have been in the company for more than 8 years, so for 8 years or more. So we have to identify how many working years each of our employees have been in the company. So to do that, we're going to use a formula equal, then we're going to call the today function. We will close parentheses, and in this case, we don't have to put any value inside because Excel will automatically assume or will take the date based on our computer settings. And we will deduct that from the hiring date to kind of know how many years the employee has been in the company. But before that, we have to add parentheses to kind of tell Excel that we wanted to do the subtraction before dividing it by 365 days in a year. So now we have here how many years each employee have been in the company, but we want to quickly visualize which ones have been for 8 years or more. So we are going to apply a quick and easy conditional formatting. We're going to choose the range. We want the conditional formatting to be applied. Go to conditional formatting, highlight sales rules greater than, and we can do 2 things. We can either add the 8 number manually, or we can go again and choose the year that we have specified in this little table here for example A. And then we can choose the filling or the fill to anything we want. We can get as creative as possible here. We can get as creative as possible. But for now, we're going to keep it very simple, and I'm just going to choose a green fill. So here we can see that 4 employees have been in the company for 4 years or more. So now moving on to the second example for conditional formatting, we are going to use the age of our employees. We know how we are going through right now with these vaccination campaigns all over the world with the pandemic. So we want to send a reminder to our employees based on their age range to kind of prioritize the ones that are more vulnerable to get the vaccination as soon as possible to kind of protect themselves and the people around them. So here we have the 4 phases. Everybody that is 60 and above is top priority, then followed by the age range between 50 and 59, then 30 and 49, and anybody less than 29. So we want to kind of reflect that in our employees to kind of visually see which ones are our top priority to send the email reminder or the encouragement email for them to get the vaccination as soon as possible. So we are going to choose the range we want this conditional formatting to be applied. But in this case, we're going to select the new rule option. So we go new rule, and we will stick with the first rule type, which is format all cells based on their values. But now we're going to choose icon sets. And the default options that the icon style gave us is 3 icons. But as I have 4 faces, I would like to have 4 icons. So let's scroll down and find any options that give us 4 icons. In this case, I will stick with this one. And the value type that is by default in Excel is %. But as we have the values here, I will change them all to number. And now we can either here, same of the first example, we can either add the ranges, that the age ranges manually. Let's say 60, everybody above 60 is this icon. Then the second one will be between 50 and 59. So anything in between, everybody in between that will have this icon. And then anybody below 30 will have, anybody between 30 and 50 will have this icon, and then anybody below that will have this icon. So all the thing that Excel gives us the option to is that we can change the icon. We can either reverse icon order here, or even if after reversing it, I'm not happy with the icon sequence, I can easily change them here. So I want red for top priorities, then followed by yellow. Then I want green here and black. So I have them all here. So in this case, our data was already sorted. But if it wasn't, we can see the whole diversity between icons. So we can see that we have 9 employees that we're going to send an email reminder. Then the next phase will be this ones, and then the ones below 29. So now we are moving on to our last exercise. But before we do that, I want to remind you again that we have all the step-by-step here. Okay, so scroll down to have a quick discussion about the importance of naming tables and ranges using a structured reference. So when we insert a table in Excel, it is automatically named after table, and then it adds a number. So if we review this data that or this table that we created at the beginning, We can see the name of the table by going to formulas. Then within the define names group, we choose name manager. And here we can see this table that belongs to the raw data spreadsheet. So which sequence we can follow to name it. So here I have a defined structure where we can kind of add a common prefix or an object identifier plus a brief description. And we can see that for tables here, it will be T underscore, same goes for pivot table, chart, pivot chart. And for ranges and cells, we will add a brief description such as countries and discount. We will see a bit of that later on, very soon. So for us to rename this table, we go to, again, name manager, which is within the formula tab, define names group, name manager button. So here we click on edit, and we change here T underscore employee. Okay, and now we have it here. We can filter them by name, filter them by the spreadsheet that they're located. So now here we also have the step-by-step on how to do it in case you want to review it. And now let's move to name ranges. So name ranges as well as putting a structure name to a table allow us to go through to be able to organize them better or easier, to be able to even refer them across the spreadsheet instead of referring to the formula or the cell range. We can just press equal and the name, and we will see that soon on our last example. So here, let's say we have a few of our employees that we want them to update our citizenship. And as we can see here, the data that they have input is not accurate or is not standardized. Some of them has put the abbreviation for Australia. Some of them have put Australian or Australia. Same goes for Canada, CA, Canadian, Canada. And for us to standardize this, we can use data validation. This is where this tool comes very handy because we can kind of limit the type of input we want our people to insert within our spreadsheet. So to do that, we will go to a legend. You can find that in your document if you go to the on hide tables. So if you want to see any on hide tables, you can click right and then press on hide. And you will see the results for all the exercises that I've been doing so far. So the one for the legend will say this with an R in the front. So here we have the countries, a kind of a standardized form to this one. And this one's for the cities. We will review it very soon. So for us to create our data validation for this range, we will first select the range where we want the data validation to be applied. And we go to Data tab, Data Tools, Data Validation. And here we have lots of options, but for this example, we are going to limit to a list. And here we are going to refer to our legend and press the 4 countries. Press OK. Yeah. So now we have a standardized way to put Australia and Canada and so on. Same here. So now with the name ranges, we will do basically the same steps, but we will now go back here. And when we press the 4 countries, we have, this is the name box. So this is the name for this range of cells. And it has B5 because it's the column row combination for the start of our list. But we can name that as a country, or if you prefer citizenship. And we press enter, and we kind of tell Excel the meaning of those 4 cell ranges. So now we can repeat this same example. Go to select the data range we want the data validation to be applied to. Then press list. And now instead of doing this process that we just did, we can just easily just type down equal country. And we press OK. If we compare that one, it has the path, let's say the name of the spreadsheet and then the cell range, but this one just have the name range we just created, equal country. So finally, we want to also tell our employees to add the city. So we have different offices across these countries and we want to know where our employees are located. So we want to do that. But first we want to tell Excel, well, if the employee chooses Australia, we just want the cities from Australia to show up instead of the full list of cities. So we can do that with creating a dependent list using the indirect function. So before we do the process here, we have to go back to our legend tab and kind of choose the cities and name it after the country they belong to. So in this case, it would be Australia. Yeah. Then the same goes for Canada. We choose the 3 cells or the 3 cities. We go to the name box, we press Canada. Now we have to make sure we press enter. And then we do the same for Italy. And the same for Spain. So now that we've done that, we can see that when we choose those cell ranges, they are named after the country. So now we can create our dependent list. And again, we will use data validation, choose the same list, but now we are going to create a formula with the indirect function. So we're going to write down equal indirect, open bracket, or parentheses. And then we're going to tell Excel that depending on the value I add on H2 or H2, and so on across the H column, it will change. So we press OK. So now for this person that has chosen Australia, we can see that just the cities from Australia are showing up. Then let's say that Ashley is from, well, no, with George, is Canadian. He will have just the cities that are in Canada, and same for Susan, that is from Spain. We have the 3 cities that belong to Spain. So we have come now to the end of my part. And again, there's also relevant data added to the right-hand side for you to refer. You can go to the intro as well. And now if there is any questions, just let me know. We will take 5 minutes to answer them. Thank you very much for your time. And it's all done for now. From my side, obviously, Gavi is coming after me to do COUNTIF, VLOOKUP, HLOOKUP, etc. So please stay and keep until the end. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. Well, if there are any questions, yeah, I have to do it.
Sorry, Laura. Yeah, so if there are not any questions to be asked, Laura, I'm not sure if you have any hidden tabs there or you have in your Excel file, or everything is ready for them to look into it when they do.
Well, I do have the hidden tabs for them as well, that they can open at any time with their results of everything that we've done so far, so they can compare. They can use the ones that they have visible to do the exercises themselves, and then the hidden ones to kind of compare our results with their results.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Laura. That was an amazing presentation. Thank you very much. I learned a lot. Hopefully everyone did. So there are not any questions. I would like to, well, before we go to our break, our 5-minute break, let's take a picture. So please enable your camera. So we could take a picture of everyone. Okay, so Diana, are you able to see all of the gallery view? Yeah?
Yes, right now I'm putting the gallery.
Okay,
You guys
so
gotta smile.
yeah, we're going to take 3 pictures. Okay, so let's smile. Diana is going to take the picture. Okay, okay, ready? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Another one, because she will move through the through the pages. We have 2. So another one, 1, 2, 3. Great. Great. Thank you very much. So right now we are going on our 5-minute break. So if you want to go to drink some water, to do some stretches, I don't know if you want to ask any questions.
We have some questions for Laura.
Yeah. Oh.
Maybe for those ones that wants to stay just to get answer the questions, I can stay. And yes, we will have we will be sharing the recording session. So I don't know, Carla, if you wanna ask the questions in the chat for.
Oh, yeah. So I didn't see them. Okay, thank you very much. So Andrea asked, could you please explain the indirect list?
Oh, so should I share my screen again? Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. So let's get the 5 minutes question in here, and then we go. Lucero, we have time, right? Like for these questions, yeah.
Yeah, we still have time.
Yeah, great. So okay.
So let me make more clear what we just done. Yeah. So the indirect function will tell us, it would return a valid reference from a given text. So here we have said that we have 4 countries, and within those countries, that must be, so it's worth to highlight that the way we write them here, we should write them here the same way as well. So let's say I put Australia here with a double I by mistake, it wouldn't work. So it has to follow the same, it has to be written in the same way, let's say, for the indirect function to work. So we have the 4 countries, and then within the 4 countries, we have 3 cities. So the indirect function will work in terms of, okay, we have these cities and we have some values that belong to that city or that cell range. So in this case, as we are working with cities, we can do it with values as well. But here for the cities, we will go again with data validation. And we have already done our data validation for the countries. So now we just want them for it to be depending on the value that we input here, if it's Australia, Canada, Italy, or Spain. We want the cities that belongs to the country we've chosen to just appear. So we go to data, we select the data range. We want data validation to be applied. Choose data validation, then list. And now, instead of choosing a value, let's say we just can't put city, because we want the cities to be dependable on the country we choose. So we have to use the indirect function. And then tell Excel, well, depending on the value we put in the previous column, it will adjust. It will just show me the values that are dependent to the country we've chosen. So in this case, it's dependent or indirectly dependent on the H column. So let's put H2, or not the H column, but the value within the range in the H column. So that's empty. And now we have let's say this in Canada, just the 3 cities that are in Canada will show up in here. And that is because we have named the 3 cities after the country. So as we did it before in the text box here for each country. And then to choose Spain, we'll have just the 3 cities that are within Spain instead of having a big list. So if we just did it with data validation, instead of you doing it with indirect function, so we have this here, and then this is the more efficient way to do it. So let's say we name this, instead of doing it, dividing it by each country and naming it after each country accordingly, we just name it as cities. And then we do a data validation without the indirect function. Let's remove the data validation that we have with the indirect function. And we do the same as we did here. So we choose list and we press equal cities. Here we will have the full list of all the cities for all the countries, and that can kind of confuse or show unnecessary data to the people that are filling the spreadsheet. This is why by dividing the cities by its countries and then naming them specifically after each country they belong to or they are located in, and then we use the indirect function to say, just show me the values here that are directly connected to, depending on the city that we choose, depending on the country that we choose here. That's why we do it again. Let's repeat. Indirect. And then go back to here, and this is the range. So we choose page 2 because it's the first range, sorry, the first cell. Page 2. Or we can choose as well. But then it has the absolute references, which is the number. And yeah, so we clear that. And here we have it again. Just the 3 cities that belong to the country we've chosen here.
Laura, we have 2 more questions. There are quick questions. I'm not sure if we could
This is earlier. Great question. To be honest, I am very new using indirect, so this is a question that we can save up, and after the workshop we can do more investigation and come back to you. I will take a note of it. So yeah, I can do a bit of more research. This is the only way I've used indirect functions, but also I've used it, and let's say I have months from like sales data from January until March, and then we just want an indirect function that brings me up the last column, let's say the new month, which is April. But I have never mixed 2 values, so that's something that I will have to investigate for you, and then we can send you an email, or if there is a whole Q&A email that we will be sending for this workshop at the end, we can add that question as well. Is there any other question?
Yes, there is one question. One second.
Can you use that function?
Well, I guess this is something that we need to look also, because in the conditional formatting it's possible to have 5 conditions.
Oh, yes. So I tried to reply to him, but it said that he was no longer online.
Okay.
Yeah, it says Freddie M is not on this meeting.
Okay.
So if we want to do that, we can choose the range again, go to Home, Conditional Formatting, and we can edit this rule, which is the one we created for the age range. And then we can, in the icon style, we can find any, it's up to 5. I would think that if we want more than 5 buttons, we will have to do a more advanced things such as SQL, set something up, but it's up to 5, so we can have 5 settings. And if we're not happy again with the way Excel is arranging the icons for us, we can mix and match. So I can have an arrow here, then a check here, then a star here. So it's very flexible. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you, Laura. So